All right, everyone, what we have for you this time, shoe trees. Shoe trees are integral in keeping your pairs of shoes and boots, particularly, leather shoes and boots, things like derbies, Oxfords, uh, ankle boots, work boots, things like that, in good shape and dry, and, they help with bacteria, some of them, and they really do a good job of keeping the shape of the shoe, and that's kind of the point, so you don't get that toe curl going on when you have the shoes or boots. So, what you want to do is look for preferably something cedar, and from there you get the correct size for your shoes or boots. Some are a little larger than others. Read reviews and pay attention to what's quality and not. Um, you can get some cheap ones places. Some you pay a little more. Sometimes you pay a little more for the cheap ones, and they just have a different brand name on them. Or you can get some plastic ones, dirt cheap, and they'll do most of the job. They'll definitely keep your shoes in shape and help them dry, but they won't do as good of a job as the cedar type shoes. As I have a shoe stretcher here we'll get to later, and you see some cool noodle cuts. I'll explain those in a few minutes. All right, first off, your basic shoe tree. This is it's got a flappy, front here, a metal rod, and adjustable points that you change for the shoe sizing. You just squeeze them together and move them up or down accordingly where you want them. It comes and goes pretty easily, nothing hard. You just put them so you get the size of your shoe, but what you're looking for is when you put it down in the shoe, you put the front end in first like this, and it'll go down into into the shoe or boot. And then when you lock it down, it stretches against the back around where your heel and ankle are, and that keeps the shoe lengthened, but also straightens out that curl on the front. So it brings the toe down a little, keeps those creases at a minimum, and just generally keeps the boot stretched out after you've worn it. And that way, the next time you put it on, it'll be closer to the way it was when it was brand new, and it'll continue to stay that way. Now, that's pretty much all these do. They'll help in drying some in that, you're keeping them open and stretched, but that's about it. That's a regular cheap shoe tree. These aren't very expensive. You can pick them up for a couple dollars a piece. If you buy them in bulk, even cheaper, as low as maybe $3 or $4 a piece maximum. Um, Maybe even $2 a piece maximum. They're not super expensive. You can get some really cheap ones. Some are made even cheaper than others, but something like what you're pictured here is about as cheap as you want to go as far as the type of shoe tree. They tend to come in pairs. These are not right or left; they're just a pair of them. Whereas these, wooden ones, you can obviously see there's a shape that denotes right or left on them. Particularly when you turn them upside down, you can kind of see a groove shape there. Although that's just lighting in the wood, different coloration there. But anyway, moving on. The other type you can get are cedar, as I mentioned. You have these type cedar, and there's a few other styles. What's nice about these is they're spring loaded. So this looks like a complex mechanism. It just shoots in there, but as it goes forward, what happens is there's grooves in there, so it widens that out. So when you put it down in a shoe or boot, you kind of press that in, and it widens it out, and then the back part here is spring loaded. You can see a little hole there, and this moves up and down. There's a spring in there. So you put it down in the boot, press forward, that kind of widens out, and then you put that down and let go, and that'll press against the heel, and that'll keep that widened to where it needs to be in the shoe or the boot, and you'll continue to enjoy having the correct, you know, stretching in the front. Now, what's nice about that is cedar, generally antimicrobial or antibacterial anyway, and it tends to, really leach that moisture out of there that can just sit and grow and fester inside your shoe or boot. You generally don't want to wear a shoe or boot more than one day in a row anyway. Um, I understand you buy a pair of quality pair, you want to wear them all the time, but you want to give the time for the leather to come back, dry, breathe, and then come back and wear it the next day. So keeping some shoe trees in is an integral part of that, so that way you have a dry, non-bacteria filled, non-sweat filled. The sweat isn't eating away at the inside of the leather boot. So or shoe. The So the Cedar ones are great. These are by Cedar Elements. They have a nice little tie on the end. I used to see these in Bass stores all the time, and they look exactly the same. I know some Allen Edmond ones you can buy that are rather nice, but they work pretty much the same way. So, there's not a ton of need to spend a lot of money on these. So, you can pick up a single pair for about $15 to $20. And these in particular are Cedar Elements. You can usually pick them up for about a dozen for about $80 to $90 on Amazon if you look around. They get mixed reviews. Some people have had nicer ones, some people haven't. These are perfectly fine. They do a great job. I've never had a pair break or anything like that. I'm sure some, have mentioned some ties have come off or things like that, but it's not really important, and they'll do a good job and save you some money. Now these are also by Cedar Elements. They work a little differently. This spring here just bends. This goes back in the heel, so you would put this down in front and then put this in the back. This will stretch against the back of the heel like that, and this will be pushing that forward. When that pushes that forward, you'll have it stretching against the boot. Again, this will keep it widened and shaped in the front. This will keep that back heel, so you have that nice heel cup going on. So when you put it on the next time, it's good and tight against your heel instead of worn out and crushed. Does a great job. Now, I've mentioned these with shoes and boots. Of course, they work great with sneakers too. Again, you just want to keep them dry and clean, and that really helps take care of the bacteria problem in sneakers. All right, I'm going to get to this before I get to the pool noodles. This is a shoe stretcher. A lot of people use these. They may have problems with different sizing issues, and so sometimes you buy a pair and they're just not quite what you thought they were. This is just a thread in here. The more you thread this in, the wider this gets. The more you thread this back, the longer the whole thing gets. Works very similar to the shoe tree. The idea is that you want to, put this in, widen it out to, give yourself a little room, and then put this back and then screw it in and get it jammed down in there in the shoe as good as you can to kind of give it some stretch. After a couple days, you'll notice a slight difference. It definitely stretches the leather a little bit. All these holes, they're for different rub points for people. People have bunions and different points on the instep and things where shoes tend to rub, and that's not great. They give you a little plastic pebble with this that we didn't need because we don't have bunions and don't have that type of issue. But so that's why I don't have it pictured here. However, it's just a little plastic nub that you kind of put in there, sort of looks like a mushroom, and you put it in there, and when you crank that down, that'll stretch that one particular part of the shoe, especially because you're stretching against it so hard. So that'll give you just a little more room and a little more relief for your shoes. I know my father had bunion issues. He used to use one of these a lot on some different military shoes. It's a common issue. It's a common problem. We bought this for a pair of my wife's shoes just to stretch them out a little. They just weren't quite right in the sizing, and it ended up working. It gave some relief. There was definitely a difference. You go ahead and condition them, put this in there, let it sit for a few days, and you'll notice a difference. It really does make a difference. Now, don't go sizing your shoes with one of these. Of course, try and buy the correct size. Try and get the thing that fits, correctly. But a lot of times there's some in between sizes, and people's feet are different, and every shoemaker makes different shoe sizes. So this is a thing to buy. You generally only buy one at a time, so you do one shoe or the other. You rarely get them in pairs. You can, but it's just more expensive, and for how few times you use it, one, and then doing the next boot or shoe the next day, a couple, for a couple more days, it's totally worth just buying one. They're about $15 on Amazon. You can find them in other places too. Not so much big box stores, more shoe-related stores and things like that. But Amazon is, one of the key places you could easily get this. So that's a shoe stretcher. Now, moving on to these pool noodles. Pool noodles, not something you would normally use with shoes, but they can work as a shoe tree. You could, put them, them in sneakers, cut them to the length that you'd be able to, force them in and jam them against the heel, and that'll work the same way. Now, you won't get any of the benefits of the Cedar products, that are helping with the bacteria and the leaching out the sweat and drying, because of course it's just plastic or foam. But it will keep the shape though, and that's something. If you've ever had a pair of Converse Chucks you've thrown in the closet and then they've come out smushed. Well, the difference of having that rounded toe, like the next time you wear them, after you wear them that time, they feel a little more comfortable. Same thing with old, running sneakers or something like that. it's just something that makes something a little more comfortable, and you can find these at dollar stores and things like that. So you just, you buy a 6 foot length and you cut them down into size and jam them in and shove them, and that'll be fine. The other thing they're used for, though, and I'll clear this stuff out of the way, is when you maybe have shoes or boots, particularly fashion boots, and a lot of women's boots are like this, you'll have them and they'll be taller like this. And this will be, a bit of an issue because sometimes they'll slink over when you've worn them a while and things like that. They'll really, deform, and these are just flopping around. What we can do to keep them upright is go ahead and pop these in there. And when you have them like that, they stay upright. They just don't fall over. It's a lot harder for them to, squish over, and that does the job. So it's just another form of keeping your shoes formed and good standing for when you want them, to keep them nice. And also, some people have, spaces in their closet, or, possibly even a shoe room or something, where they like to show off their things and, look at them and pick them when they pick their outfits. Well, this, keeps it looking nice, keeps it upright, keeps it functional, keeps it that, store quality, presentation upright. Granted, you're looking at pool noodles, but you know what they're there for. They're, for protection. One quick thing on these boots that I'll show you is a lot of times zippers, especially on women's fashion boots. These, I believe, are Clark's. Yes, they are. They're Clark's boots. Um, let's see if we can get the light on that. There you go. You can see Clark's there. They're leather, just a glued-on sole. Nothing terribly special, but at least they are leather. Sort of a glove leather. But these have been worn a few times, maybe, I don't know, about 10 times. I think I've seen her wear them. They've actually held up pretty well, considering. But we keep the leather in good shape and keep it conditioned. But what did happen was this zipper tie right here came off, and it was just a tiny little one, and it was, very flimsy, and, quite frankly, a lot of fashion zippers are like that. Well, we just put these key rings on. She always wears them with pants. She doesn't wear them, with the pants tucked in or anything like that. So, that's always there, and that hides that. Not that it really looks all that ugly. It actually sort of goes with the boot style, um, at least in my opinion. But, with jeans or something, you don't even notice it because it's, they come down to where my hand is, so this part's blocked out. So it works great. It's nice to grab, easy to put them on with, and you can just pull up, and, you get good leverage with that. So keyring zipper holders. Like I said, one of them broke off, and I just went ahead and replaced both of them with them because I was like, well, might as well make it match. And sometimes you can do that with shoes and boots. Just use things you have around the house, and be smart about it, and you'll end up happier with the way they're working out for you. All right, well, that's it for this video. Thank you very much, and obviously like, subscribe, anything like that if you are getting any help from these videos, and I appreciate it. Thank you.